happened? Did you see, if you saw it, if you were part of it, if you got to do anything with it, give me a thumbs up. Awesome. Shlok, there you go. Ronit, Smriti, Krish, Ariana, Arav, Trinab, Ira, Amya, Sharanya, Shlok, Tisha, Bella, Arav, Arush. Awesome. Okay. So what we're going to do today is we're going to.
You have the access, by the way. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. You're good. Awesome. And we're on recording.
Okay. Yes. Let's go ahead and start that then. Okay. Kids, I want you to give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Awesome. Okay, awesome. So we're going to talk a little, as I was telling you about, we're going to just have some fun chat. We're going to talk about a little bit more about Shivratri and how it connects to you and me, not just as a Vatuk Puja. Why Vatuk Puja? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? But before I start that, let me ask you this. How many times do you see Shivratri comes in a year? Is it once a year? Is it every month? Or is it...
If you hold it down really hard.
So how many times a year does Shivratri come, bachcho?
It comes once a year.
It comes once a year? Okay. Anybody else has a different answer?
Once a year.
Once a year? Okay. Anybody else has a different? Okay. You all are in agreement it comes once a year? Okay, Sia, why are you nodding the other way?
Because Shivratri comes every month. Mahashivratri comes once a year.
Yes, you both are right. All of you guys are. Shivratri, the day Shivratri as such comes every month, but the day we celebrate it as Vatuk Puja, that comes once a year. Did you know that?
Listen to this.
Let me explain how, okay? You guys studied about the lunar calendar, right? Last few classes you guys learned about the lunar calendar, correct, Raja? So in lunar calendar, okay, somebody's, can you everybody mute yourself, Raja? Make sure everybody is off.
Jana, come here.
Okay, everybody please switch off, just a mute off. I want to see the faces. Don't switch off your faces. I want to see your pretty faces. There you go. Okay. So Shivratri actually is a day that's dedicated to Shiv Shambhu. Okay. And that so-called Shivratri is celebrated per the lunar calendar. Lunar calendar means what? We follow the moon cycle. Can you see my presentation? Can you see my cursor? Give me a thumbs up if you can see my cursor. Good. Okay. So have you seen moon growing from barely anything to a full moon day? Give me a thumbs up if everybody has seen that happening. Okay. This part of the lunar cycle is called Shukla Paksh, or waxing of moon. Okay. And it lasts 15 days. But then after it becomes a full moon, it shrinks back to hardly anything. That's called Krishna Paksh, or waning of moon. Okay. Now, both of these cycles are 15 days, which makes an entire month, right? But on this particular section, when the moon is waning down, the 14th day of every month is called a Chaturdashi. And that is celebrated as Shivratri, which is every month. Got it? But only and only this 14th day of lunar cycle, which belongs to Falgun month. Falgun month means the March month or end of Feb month. Falgun month, that's called Falgun month in a lunar calendar. Only and only that particular day is called as Mahashivratri, or a bigger Shivratri, which throughout the India, and not just India, throughout the world, Hindus celebrate as Mahashivratri. Did you know that? Did you know that? Okay, awesome. So, and why is that particular day called Mahashivratri? And why not other Shivratris? In order to know that, I will have to take you to a book called Puranas. Puranas are actually ancient texts. They were written by our sages, our rishis, our munis, who were very knowledgeable. They were scientists, they were surgeons, they were astronomers, they were, astrologers. They had immense knowledge. They were mathematicians. They had immense knowledge of how the sky maps, how the constellations sit together. Okay.
May I share something? Why I think Shivratri might be on that.
Haraji, tell me.
Because Shivji has a moon on his head, I think that's the day when the moon is the exact shape as that.
Oh, but that shape is right there on the 14th. That could be it too. Thanks for teaching me that, Ariana. Appreciate it. So, but I'm going to tell you something which is there, one more detail about it, okay? And that detail comes from this ancient text called Puranas. Okay, now Puranas, there are 18 Puranas or books. The Puranas, like how you guys have books, right? You have science book, English book, math book, right? Like that in ancient India, those were called as Puranas, right? And there are different Puranas. Major Puranas are 18 in number. Out of those, one section is called Shiv Puran. Okay, in that Shiv Puran text is where it describes why on this particular Shivratri we celebrate Vatuk Puja. You follow? You guys follow? So I'm going to tell you stories from that exact section, why that particular day is celebrated as Shiv Puran. Excuse me. So what happened apparently long time ago, and this is before a new creation had started. You had heard about Brahma and Vishnu were among a discussion of who is greater. You heard that story too, right? In the previous class, who is greater? And a huge fire pillar appeared in front of him. You heard about that story? Give me a thumbs up. Who's heard about the story? Ameya, you haven't heard that story, Raja? I can give a brief preview who hasn't and who has not. Okay, Ira has not. Trinab has. Ayana has. Okay. I'm going to give you guys a brief preview for those kids who have not heard this. So this is about a time when before the new creation had to start, Vishnu and Brahma were in an argument. Vishnu said, I am more knowledgeable. And Brahma said, no, I am more knowledgeable. I have seen more life. So they went into this tussle of who is better and who is bigger. While this conversation went on for a pretty long time and started getting heated up, suddenly there was a huge pillar that appeared in front of them. Huge pillar of fire that appeared in front of them. And that pillar is, when it was so sudden that they just decided among them, okay, whosoever finds the end of this pillar would be considered the greatest. Okay. So Brahma went on in the upward direction and Vishnu went in the downward direction to find the end of it. But guess what happened? None of them could find the end of the pillar either ways. So when this was happening, that time both realized that it was futile to argue on this because we are not able to find it. At that particular day, then Vishnu actually does a prayer to that to that fire pillar as a form of Adi Purush, praise him as a ultimate power. And in such a phenomenal way he prays, it's such a devotion he prays, that Shiva appears to him in form of Mahadeva, right? The pillar form of Shiva is called shapeless form, or because it doesn't really have a specific form. So it's called Nirakar. In Hindi, it's called Nirakar Roop. And when he converted into a shape form, that's called Mahadev form, which has a shape. So when Shiva appeared in front of Vishnu, the pillar disappeared, the fire pillar disappeared, and the Shiva came in form of front of them. He was so pleased with Narayana that Shiv Puran text explicitly states that whosoever prays to Shiva on this particular day, which is the 14th day of Krishna Paksh, will get the benefit of praying for him for entire year. That is the reason the first reason why Mahashivratri, this particular day became Mahashivratri. Okay, and in that book it also describes, it's a very informative book. That book also describes, but how should we know ki this is the particular day and whatever is written in Shiv Puran is the same date that we are following in our Mahashivratri calendar, correct? How should one know that? So what our sages did, where they tracked the constellation, which constellation is where. When they tracked that, they identified the month of end of Feb and start of March, which as per lunar calendar is called Falgun month. Okay, that calendar time is the day when this particular incident had happened in way ancient times, and hence this day was called as Mahashivaratri Day. You follow? Give me a thumbs up who follows. Give me a thumbs up. Awesome, awesome. So do you know this was the same day which later down the line when Shivji and Parvati got married. You know that? You know about that? Do you guys know about that? You don't? Okay, Trinap, you don't know that? Okay, Amaya, do you know that? Shlok, you know that? Aryan don't. Okay, but this is the day when also Shiva and Parvati were married. Now, how that happened and why that happened, let's get into that story in a bit. Okay, I was just giving you the introduction right now. But before I go to there, did you know that Shiva actually was never interested in marrying? Did you know that? Shiva was never interested in marrying. He was an ascetic, he was a yogi. And most important of all, let me ask you something. Have you ever heard Goddess Vishnu or Goddess Lakshmi's marriage anniversary being celebrated? Have you ever heard Brahma or Saraswati's marriage being celebrated? Then why only Goddess Parvati and Lord Shiva's marriage is being celebrated? Have you ever thought of it? No? Anybody? No idea? Okay, I'll tell you why. In order to give you this idea that why only their marriage is celebrated, why not anybody else's, there's a story behind it. And this also comes from the same text which was written by our ancient sages called Shiv Puran, from Shiv Puran. There's a chapter in there called Rudra Samahita. Just for your information, I'm telling you. There's a chapter called Rudra Samahita from where I'm going to tell you this story. So in order to tell you that, I'll have to take you to a time when Devtas and Asuras were really in a tug of war. They were fighting, they were, excuse me, they were fighting for almost everything, okay? So there was this particular sage. Have you ever heard a sage of named Rishi Kashyap? Who's heard the sage Rishi Kashyap? Give me a thumbs up. No? Okay. Rishi Kashyap was a sage who actually, as per the legend goes, had created Kashmir Valley where your roots are from and where my roots are from. Okay, now proceeding further. So Rishi Kashyap had a son whose name was Vajranka. Vajranka was an Asur. Okay, now Vajranka hated Devas because of the power Devas had over Asuras. Vajranka hated that. So he prayed to Lord Brahma and he said, Lord Brahma, I have to have a son that can defeat Indra. And Lord Brahma said, okay. So thus came a birth of a son, which was known as Tarakasur, who was a grandson of Rishi Kashyap. But Tarakasur was no ordinary Rakshasa that was born. Okay. Tarakasur was somebody who had done immense tapasya, immense meditation. Immense means that time they say these sages and asuras used to live longer time spans. Like nowadays, human time span is what, 70 years, 100 years if they touch it is great. At that time, it was considered to have long lifespan, passing centuries. So the book suggests that time lifespans used to be longer. So Tarakasur spent quite a lot of chunk of his lifespan in meditation, in acquiring the nuclear weapon, the power, the knowledge that could defeat Indra. So what happened was he did such a powerful meditation with Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma was pleased with his meditation. Any hard work we do, Raja, whether it is any hard that does generate a fruit, whether we do it for hard work for a good thing or a hard work for anything which has any other thought process in the mind, hard work always pays. This even an asura's hard work pays. We are humans, so our hard work will definitely pay. So never give up hard work. Hard work always pays. So Tarakasura did the same hard work, actually immense hard work, and was able to please Brahma. And when Brahma came to him and said, "Oh, Tarakasura, what do you want?" Tarakasura goes, "I want to be immortal. Nobody should be able to kill me, and I want to live forever." But that's one boon Trinity does not give to anybody. Nobody is immortal, is what Brahma told him. But he said, if you really want to do, I can at the best do this. Tarakasura, I can allow you to decide how you can choose to die, right? I can't tell you that you're going to be immortal, is what he said, but you can definitely choose how you die. Tarakasura was a very, very smart man. You know what he chose? He chose two boons because he had one goal in mind. I have to defeat Indra. I have to conquer the world. And what he decided was, okay, Lord Brahma, just give me two boons. First boon would be, I should only be killed by a 7-year-old child. But that child has to be Lord Shiva's child. This is what I asked for. And Brahma gladly gave him that. Do you think that was a smart boon, or that was a smart thing to ask, or no? Do you have any idea? Was it a smart? I mean, it was not a smart thing. What do you think should have been the smart thing?
He said, I can only be killed in a war.
He said what? You muted yourself, Raja.
He should have said, I can only be killed in a war.
Well, he kind of said that. He said a 7-year-old child can kill me. Well, but that's a good point. Yes, Rina, you have a question? You have a comment?
Yeah, because you told us that Lord Shiva wasn't interested in being married, so that's why he did it. Because Lord Shiva wasn't being interested in marrying.
Perfect. That's exactly what Tarka's thought. Tarka thought, Shivaji is not going to get married. He is totally into his own world. He is not interested. And if there is a child that comes in front of me, I can defeat a child very easily. So that way I will become immortal. Very good, Trina. Perfect. This is exactly the reason what Tarka thought, right? So he had very cleverly asked this boon. He knew exactly, Trinap, exactly this is the reason why he asked for this. He knew it is a very difficult advantage to breach. And Lord Shiva was a full yogi at that time. He had given up on the worldly balances because he had recently lost his wife. He had a wife named Sati who was dead. So he was so saddened by that he had decided he would never marry. He was not going to interact with anybody, and he is going to stay in his samadhi forever. Nothing could deter him from that. Yes, Rina.
But Lord Shiva did marry, and then he had the Lord Krishna as a child. And
Lord Kartike, not Krishna. Perfect. Yes, you're right. He does. But do you think that happened very easily? No, right? It didn't happen very easy. Let's see what happened. So right now, Taraka is thinking he's just gotten out of his meditation. Brahmaji has just given him this boon. And lo and behold, Taraka is super duper happy that he's gotten this boon. So what happens next is, when somebody thinks they are invincible. Now, this is also a learning for all of us as human beings. Whenever we think we cannot be beaten, we are invincible, or we are the best of best, a kind of pride seeps in any human character or anybody's character for that matter. Same thing happened with Tarakasura. He started going from one battle to another and winning every single battle he went to. It became so, he became so invincible that Devas just ran to Brahma and said, you are the one who caused this misery to us. You have to get us out of it, because there was no way they could defeat Taraka, right? So, but Brahma was like, I'm bound by my words. So Brahma said, I'm bound by my words. I can't do anything. Go check with Vishnu. So Devas, beaten up, tired, pressurized, lost everything, no place to live, no place to hide. They run to Vaikuntha where Vishnu lives, and they tell to Vishnu Bhagwan, Bhagwan, save us. You are supposed to be the god of sustenance. We are getting destroyed here. Please help us. But guess what Vishnu says? That I can't help you. It's a promise Lord Brahma made. Even if I want to kill him, I can't help you. I cannot. I have to keep Brahma's promise, right? So Vishnu also was nowhere to be, no help to them. Brahma was no help to them. And this went on for centuries and centuries together. And as this continued, atrocities of Taraka knew no bounds. He forgot that his goal was not just Indra. He forgot his goal was just Indra. He became blind in that power. He started attacking everybody, be it humans, be it animals, be it environment. He created havoc in every direction, and there was no control whatsoever to hold him back. At that point, they go to somebody called Adi Shakti. Cosmos energy has two variant forms. One is a male Shakti or a male power, and another is female Shakti or a female power. When they were lost, when Devas lost everything in front of Brahma and Vishnu, they couldn't find any route. So they went and prayed. They say they prayed for at least 1,000 years more to please Adi Shakti. So pleased was Adi Shakti with their devotion that she appeared before them. And she asks them very lovingly, oh Devas, what is it that you want? What is it? Why are you looking for me? Why have you called me? And that is when Indra, Varun Dev, Agni Dev, all of these devtas together came and just with their folded hand, heads bent low, said, Ma, help us, help us. We have been living a tyrant life, not just us, entire cosmos is living a tyrant life. Lord Shiva is nowhere to help. He is not even listening. He's gone into this deep trance. Please help us. We need a savior. Please come down and get Shiva out of this trance and marry him. Please pull him out of this trance. There's no way out for us. So when Mata heard these words, heard how much agony these devas and earth and other planets have gone through, and after looking at what Lord Shiva, how Lord Shiva had disconnected himself, she grants them a boon and a promise. Boon as in a promise. She says, okay, devas, I assure you, I will take birth on earth, and I will take birth as Parvati. She will be a princess, a daughter of Queen Meenavati and King Himavan. And so she did. But it was not easy for even Adi Shakti herself to bring Shiva out from that marriage. So what happened was Adi Shakti took a birth, and that first stage that she of her birth is also called Shailaputri. Shailaputri beta means is also another meaning of daughter of mountains. She's also the first form of Navdurga that we pray to. So Adi Shakti as a child who was Shailaputri immediately realized that she had an inclination towards Lord Shiva. You know, sometimes we all have a certain inclination. We all have a certain calling, right? Adi Shakti had taken a form for that certain calling. Her calling was Lord Shiva. As soon as she realized that, she took to brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means taking a vow of monastic life, where she will do meditation and that kind of austeries and penance. So while she was doing the Brahmacharya Vrat, she earned the name called Brahmacharini. So Shailaputri, her name as Shailaputri, her name as Brahmacharini, is also a name of a form of Navadurga that we all Hindus around the world pray as. Right? But this is the journey of Parvati. So Parvati was born as Shailaputri, then she became the Brahmacharini. She went and did severe ashrays. Even Vishnu and Brahma gave her boons that your meditation will be succeeded. And as she continued to pray for Shiva's darshan, for Shiva's manifestation, but Shiva would not budge. He just would not budge. So one day, while Parvati was meditating, as usual, Devas thought of a plan. They were getting impatient. They thought Parvati is already here. Why is Shiva not opening his eyes? Though they thought of intervening between this decision of Mata Shakti and Adidev or Mahadev's interaction. So they sent Kamadev. Kamadev is god of love, apparently, as per the legend goes. So Kamadev was there to distract Lord Shiva from his meditation so he could take a look at Mata Parvati, but nothing went by their plan. You see this picture? This picture, do you see my arrow where I'm pointing? Can you see this picture? This picture is the picture what eventually happened to Kamdeva. So Kamdeva came and Shiva is in a deep trance of meditation and Kamdev tries to disturb him. Shiva, without opening his two eyes, opened his third eyes and boom, burned Kamdeva into ashes. They say that whosoever witnessed that scene was so scared, was so afraid that they went speechless. They just froze. And Shiva disappeared from there. So all that effort Devas did went futile. Parvati also left that place and she moved to a place called Amarnath. Have you heard the name Amarnath temple? Okay, that is one place, Raja, in Srinagar state. It's very famous Amarnath temple in Srinagar. They say it's a cave. It's a cave where it snows and it has a Shivlinga in form of ice sculpture. So that's where they say Parvati went and she decided to meditate until death. She gave up food, she gave up water. She decided and she took a vow that if Shiva doesn't appear before me now, I will give up this life. So with that determination, she went into that cave and started meditating. They say she meditated for 100 more years there. So thin she had become, she had merely turned into skin and bone. And while meditating, while she was doing this meditation, that's when Shiva finally, after seeing her perform no ordinary ashray, nobody in their normal, as a normal thing can go through such a hardships that Parvati did at that time. So after Shiva saw how no ordinary ashrays is what she was performing, and he also knew that what Vishnu and Brahma had told him that, Arey, this is Sati herself, this is Adi Shakti herself. So Shiva decided to give Parvati a chance. So he appeared in front of Parvati. He didn't want to give it all easy. He appeared in front of Parvati. You see the second picture? The second picture is where he appears before Parvati as a disguised Brahman and as somebody who hates Shiva. And he started telling him, oh Devi, why are you wasting your time on somebody who hasn't appeared to you in such a long time? Why are you still spending your time with such a man? Leave him, go find somebody else. And he kept on rambling and Parvati kept on ignoring him. Parvati kept on ignoring him. And then finally, only thing she spoke, and the book says, all she spoke was still very calm, that I don't want to hear a word against my Shiva. Either you leave this place or I'll be forced to leave. With such devotion, the book says that with such a devotion she uttered these words that Shiva had to reveal himself. He could not kept himself hidden, and he not just appeared before her, he also promised her that Parvati, your meditation, your sadhana has been successful, right? And I will marry you, and I will come to your house with my barat on Krishna Paksh, Falgun month, and the 14th day of Falgun month, which is Mahashivratri day. So it's the same day he decided to marry Parvati. So the Shivratri, the day Shiva married Parvati, was no ordinary Shivratri day. It was this particular Mahashivratri day that happens in the Falgun month. Got it? Got it? Okay. So now Shiva and Parvati got married and they soon had a son. The son's name was, does anybody know who's the son's name? Okay, Amaya, what's son's name?
Kartike?
Kartike, you're right. You're right. So Shiva Parvati got married and they had a son named Kartike. He also has a name called Skand. Do you know that he has a name called Skand? Anybody else knows that Kartike was also called as Skand? Okay, good job. So Kartike was also known as Skand. That's a name that made Parvati give a name called Skand Mata. That's also another name that we, as a Hindus, pray to. She's a fifth form of Navadurga. But anyway, that's a side information. So Skand was born, Kartike was born, and then Kartike went into battle with Tarakasura. They say it was a fierce battle. There was fire and ammunitions and all sorts of nuclear weapons firing on both the side. But eventually, 7-year-old son of Shiva Parvati named Kartike took his bhala, the stuff that you see in his hand is called bhala. That was a special weapon provided to Kartike by his mother Parvati. He took that and he killed the tyrant with it. And when Kartike, as soon as Kartike killed Tarakasur, the book says, the peace restored in every direction, in every sense. And that is why Shiv Parvati's marriage took precedence over anybody else's marriage, because their marriage was done for the saving of entire cosmos, right? But guess what happened? Even after Tarakasur was dead, he still had 3 sons who were not ready to give up their entire power. They were still creating menace. And those 3 sons had a name. Let me. Can you guys see the slides? Can you keep seeing the slides? Okay, good. They had 3 sons named Tarkaksha, Kamlaksha, and Vidyunmali. They had a special boon that these 3 people could create their own 3 planets. You see this? 1 planet 1, planet 2, planet 3. They are actually there are 3 separate planets. One was made of gold, another was made of silver, and another was made of iron. These 3 planets would revolve in cosmos for thousands of years. And they had a boon. All 3 of these people had a boon that these demons can only be destroyed if somebody shoots an arrow that can strike all 3 planets in one stroke. Nobody was able to do that very easily. So these people used to go kidnap people from other planets, bring them there and do atrocities. And nobody could even get into their world, the 3 worlds these 3 demons had created. Now, tri means 3, and pur means cities or state, okay? So there were 3 purs, one made of gold, one made of silver, and one made of iron, okay? So what happened was, at the end of 1,000th year, they also had one more thing, that these 3 planets would converge only one time, where they'll be in one straight line, and they will be together for only few minutes or milliseconds or something like that. So they were basically for a very short span. So what happened was, at the end of stipulated time, what Shiva did was Shiva created, excuse me, and bow and arrow. And he shot that bow and arrow at the right time from earth. Shiva stood on earth. They say, Shiva Puran says, he stood on earth, aimed the arrow in such a manner that that arrow went and struck all three asteroids or all three planets in a same shock, which destroyed all three planets simultaneously. That gave Shiva the name of Tripurant, which is called Tripurant. So there's another name of Shiva called Tripurant. Did you know that? Did you know Shiva had a name called Tripurant? There you go. Now you know it. Are you guys understanding? Ira, yes, you have a question, Baba? I'm sorry, I'm not able to see. Is anybody else have a question till now? Yes, Ira, go for it, Baba.
All I know that Shiva has 20 names, I think.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
101.
You're right, Baba. Have you heard Tripurant as one of them?
No, I just know that they have that he has 101 names.
That's correct. But now you know Tripurant is one of them. Yes, Rana Beba. What comments?
Wait, because it said on the slide, it says that Shiva created a bow and an arrow and a chariot with the various gods and goddesses and components of the universe. And then the next part says, the moment the three aerial cities converged, Shiva mounted on his chariot and moved upwards. Does that mean he like flew into the sky and then shot, or did he like flew just from like the ground?
Let me explain it to you something. Have you ever seen a rocket launch? Do you know there's a rocket launching pad in Florida, but that gets controlled from Houston? So in today's day, when we can sit in Houston, in NASA, switch the button and launch the rocket from Florida, you think Shiva can't sit on Earth and launch the rocket from Earth in such a manner where it hits the asteroids or the three planets in this direction? That's exactly what might have happened. Now, I didn't witness it, but the book says that here's what the book says. The book, a very good question, by the way, Trina, fabulous question. I loved it. They say that even though the book mentions it as Vishnu was the one who made the arrow, mountain became the bow, Earth became the chariot. What it basically means is, I wish there was a board I could show you. So as the planets are rotating, so does Earth, correct? So everything has its own pace, correct? Say, for example, when we have to go to moon or we have to go to Mars, when we arrange our rocket directions, and when we launch in such a manner that when we strike our rocket, it hits the nearest point of that distance, correct? You follow? That's exactly what's happened here. That's exactly what's happened here. So everybody came together. Actually, Vishnu, Brahma, Indra, all the gods came together to help accomplish this. All the gods came together to help accomplish this when he did that. So they say they used Earth as a central medium, and they launched what they're calling arrow is probably something like a rocket that has to go past our Earth's gravitational pull, hit the three asteroids, and hit it in a manner where all three hit a collision. Does that answer your question, Trina? Does anybody else have any question till now? I can't, hold on. Yes, Sia, you have a question?
Just quick question. I want to hear from you actually that if Vishnu is the arrow, and is that true? And is Brahma the bow?
Brahma is the charioteer, the one who rides the chariot. The book calls Brahma as the one who's riding the chariot. So so in a manner, Brahma is a space director who's deciding at what pace and what velocity the rocket should hit. Did that satisfy? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Amya Biba, you have a question, Rajay?
What does the name mean?
Raja, you got muted. Can you say that again?
What does the name mean?
What does the what mean?
Name. What is this? What does his name mean?
Neen? Where is it? Can you show me what you mean by neen? I can't understand. What's
I
neen?
said name.
Name? Name? Any name? Tripuran?
He's saying, what does his name mean? MEAN.
What does the name mean?
I think
Yeah.
you explained it. I think she's asking Tripurant. What does that mean? Is that what you're asking, Amaya? Yeah, she just explained it.
Tripurant, Rajay, very good question. Tripurant has actually, it's an amalgamation of three words. Trip, Pur, Ant. Trip means three. Pur means cities. Ant means end. The one who destroyed the three cities in one go is called Tripurant. When you put it together, it becomes Tripurant. So there is even a shloka called Brahma Murari Tripurantakari. In that Tripurant, whenever you hear Tripurant, it's actually the name of Lord Shiva. Does that help, Amaya? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else has any other question? Let me make sure I'm seeing everybody. Sometimes this Windows, okay, good. Anybody else has any question? I'll move forward. Okay, good. So let's go ahead. So that what I told you till now was a story from the Puranas, Shiv Puran, Rudra Samahita. But now I'm going to bring you a little bit further in time. So now if everything was called Shivratri in our Puranas, then why are we all calling our Vatuk Puja as Herath Puja? What does Herath mean? I'm going to tell you that story today. Okay. Now for that, I'll have to take you to the time when India was ruled by Persian, Turkish, and a mix of a Mughal empire. Okay. So long time ago, there was a king who ruled over Srinagar, Kashmir, and his name was Jabbar Khan. Have you ever heard of Jabbar Khan? Okay, let me tell you what happened. So legend has it, Jabbar Khan was a very staunch Muslim. And he wanted to convert all the Pandits in the valley to be Muslim. And the biggest puja for Kashmiri Pandits is what? Vatuk Puja, right? Right? So what happened was, he specifically targeted Vatuk Puja. And he said, what is this? Why are you guys doing this Vatuk Puja? This Vatuk Puja has no meaning. I'm not going to let you celebrate it. If it is that powerful, do it in July, do it in June. Why are you doing it now? July and June during that time is also called Har month in our Kashmiri language. So, so what happened was Jabbar, in order to teach lessons to Hindu Kashmiri Pandit, he said, don't do this in January and Feb. Don't do this in Falgun month, the month that we actually do it in. So, and he didn't allow any Kashmiri Pandit to do Vatuk Puja during that Feb time. Yes, Irabita, you have a question?
Why didn't he let them do it on February?
He did not want, he wanted to put the customs down. He wanted to make sure people are dissuaded. When a faith fails, human beings tend to leave it easily. So that the worst attack you can do to any human being is make sure his faith is not true. So this was his way of attacking the faith in a manner to show that, oh, look, it's useless that you're doing it. So you really want to celebrate it? All right, you celebrate it in summer. You're not going to celebrate it in winter as usual. Okay? Yes, Vihan, beta. I just saw your hand. Sorry. Go ahead.
I have the same book that they took the picture that is on the bottom left, and I remember some parts of it. There was there's this ring you had to make out of this dry grass, and you had to wear it during it. And there was also, you had to make that this kind of like a picture with the bird and the three leaves. You have to make that out of the same dry grass you used for the ring, or roti ata. And I also remember that there is Harris Courage, and there is this shell that you play, a game that you play with shells.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Vihan. Absolutely right. So all this that you just described, Jabbar Khan did not want us to do that. So what he did was he forced Kashmiri Pandits, okay, come July, come June, July, that's when you will do it. Kashmiri Pandits started doing that. They didn't have much choice. They started doing that. Oh, sorry. Yes, Trina, beta.
I have one question and one comment. My
Shoot.
comment is that there's also something that my family did. I remember reading it that my family did this Shivratri too. Whoever wakes up whoever I got free money, which is good. Then
Oh, yeah.
whoever wakes up first, the day after that gets $21 and I won.
Ah, there you go. There you go. All right. So I'll get to that also. Give me 1 minute. Let me wrap this story real quick. It won't take long. So what happened was Jabbar Khan decided everybody will do it in June. So Pandit didn't have a choice. They started setting Vatuk Puja. They started setting Vatuk organization, just like how Wehan described. They put the whole thing. And they say that when they started the puja, it started to snow in July. Now, every Feb, legend has it that it snows in Srinagar during Shivratri, the Mahashivratri day. So, but in July, there's no way it would have snowed. But they say that that particular year, when Jabbar Khan had stopped everybody from doing anything, it not just snowed, a snowstorm ensued. It became so snowy and cold that everything became standstill in Kashmir during that time. When it became standstill, Jabbar Khan was speechless. The only thing that came out of his mouth, they say, was Herat. Herat. Herat actually means surprised in Persian Urdu. And that's when he said, Barak, Herat. And that's how our Shivratri became Herat Mubarak. That Herat became Herat. So actually, even though our Vedas, our Puranas call it Shivratri, but in Kashmir in particular, it became to be called as Herat Mubarak. And there's even a saying in Kashmiri, which says, and it's a very known saying that maybe your parents or your grandparents would know, which says, which means, look at this Jabbar, the beggar, he turned even the summer into a winter. Have you heard this before? Okay, koi baat nahi. So this was a story of what Vatuk is, where Vatuk Puja comes from. It comes from Shiv Puran. What's the power of it and how Shivratri became Herat in Kashmir. But as Vihan was saying, he recognizes these articles, these items on the page. So do you guys recognize it as Shiv, Parvati, Bhairavdul? Unmute yourself. I want to hear you guys. So why do you think we are doing this? Why do you think we do this, Puja Rajay? Why do you think we do this? Do you recognize the Shiv, Parvati Vatuk, the Shiv Vatuk, the Kalash Vatuk? Do you recognize all of these?
Yeah, these look familiar to me because we use it for Vatuk Puja.
Absolutely. Do you know the Shiv pot? First of all, why is it in a pot shape? The pot shape it's because pot represents cosmos. Okay, when you fill the pot, now you're creating different energies of that. The Shiv pot is supposed to be the Bhairav pot, the one which is fierce. Okay, and the Parvati pot is a counter pot, which is a calmer version, which actually counterbalances Shiva's energy. So it is Bhairava pot and Parvati pot, the calmer pot. So both are placed as a higher significance. And do you know why walnuts are kept in there? And what does walnut represent? Trinab, I see your hand.
Walnuts are there because they have 4 parts, and the 4 parts represent different things, but I forgot the name of those things.
It represents the 4 Vedas. Kashmir was a well-known city for celebrating all sorts of Ved, all sorts of Shastras. Ages back, I mean, it could be a separate session we can do, but in Kashmir is where all this Vedas used to be, all this, I should say, earlier scientists or Rishi Munis used to discuss and write Vedas and write all what their findings were, discuss it, experiment it. So it was also a Sharda Peeth, the world's first university was called Sharda Peeth, and it was situated in Srinagar. Now we don't have that land. That piece of land has gone to other side on the border called Pakistan. But if that piece, Kashmir was a land of Sharada, land of knowledge. So the walnut represent the 4 Vedas because it has 4 sections in it. You're right. And the Kalash, jiski hum puja, the one we pray, is where we invoke all these energies. So basically, Vatak Puja is you are invoking God, God's energies for protection of your family, your friends, your neighbors, your community. And that's how Shiva, that's the entire essence of doing Vatak Puja, is to balancing those energies around us and asking them to bless us from within and from outside. And how did it end when you guys did the Vatak Puja? You got money and all that. Did you do tuk-tuk for that? Who's familiar with tuk-tuk here? Who's familiar with tuk-tuk? Bella, I see your hand. Amya. Okay, unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. I want to hear what you guys did.
Me and my sister did. Me and my sister did.
What did you do? Did you do tuk-tuk?
Yeah, me and my sister did.
And your sister
Yeah,
did?
I did tuk-tuk with my dad.
You did tuk-tuk with your dad? Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm an only child.
When you do tuk-tuk and then you say, who's there? You hear Ram Bror. What does Bror mean? Yes, Amya, what does Bror mean?
Cat.
Cat. Is it really a cat? Is there a cat on the other side? No. Cat actually, it's actually a representative. One of the Bhairavas in that, in your Vatuk Puja is called Ram or Ram Bhairav. So that is actually a representative of Ram Bhairav. It's not a Billi. So when you take all the prasad and come outside the door, it means puja mein aapne whatever energy you have collected, that energy is for good health, good food, good wealth, good buddhi, good akal, and that's what we pray for and we bring inside our house. Correct? Did you do all that? What did you do next after the Vatuk Puja? Immediately the next day. Yes, Vihan. Unmute yourself, bacho. Unmute and talk. Unmute and talk. And ask me anything. This is almost the final step.
For 4 days. For 4 days we did puja, and then on the last day around nighttime, we got a big plate. We filled it with rice, and then we put roti and other stuff in it. And there's a mirror, and there's a pen, and there is money, and there's a flower, and then there's a picture of I don't remember, but there was a picture.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yes, Ira, beta, I see your hand. Amya, Ira, give me a second. Ira, yes, go ahead.
On the 4th day, me and my mom have been eating the walnuts on the 4th day of Shivratri.
Absolutely. It's very, very nutritious for brain. You know that? It's extremely nutritious for brain. Should always eat it. Amya, you had your hand up?
And some people sometimes do long pujas, and some people do for 3-day pujas.
That is correct, Raja. Absolutely. Learn that, so you're fabulous. Yes, Amya?
On the same day as the puja, I did Tal Baron.
You did Thal Baron, absolutely. You know why we do this Thal Baron? Thal Baron is welcoming of spring, Raja. So once Shivratri ends, it's almost end of the winter, right? And you welcome spring. So this is basically to give you a brief idea, it's welcoming of spring. Yes, Trina.
I have a question from the story, where the Muslim guy said that he should do it in July, and that why did he say July? Is it because was it connected to snow? Because like you said that there was no snow then. Is it like that way?
Absolutely, you got it exactly right, Bita. So it was mainly, so Pandits used to believe Shivratri had somehow gotten linked to snowfall. Okay, so just to prove Pandits wrong, he just said there will not be any fall. It's not because you're doing puja that is why the snow is falling. The legend says that it was, yes, you're right, it's just to prove that nothing will happen when you do the Vatu Puja in July. It will not snow. I'm here to prove you wrong. And they say that when in mass scale, when the puja is done in mass scale, any positive energy, when done in mass scale, it has power. So whenever you see, go to any temple, they say do it together. Where when you're doing meditation, do it together. When you do chanting, you're doing it together. Why? Because these mantras are sounds, they are vibrations, and everything around you see is actually part of vibration and sound. So that time when all the Pandits did the puja together, that created a vibration which was so pious that it ended up proving Jabbar Khan wrong. Ask, unmute, ask me anything you like. Unmute and ask me anything you like. हाँ त्रिनाम बोलो बेटा.
I have a comment, not a question. Actually, my first name, Pranab, means Lord Vishnu.
Yes, that is correct. I know that. That's actually wonderful. Thank you for explaining. Anybody else has any question, any thing in the story? Yes, Sia, I see your hand.
Like I had something similar. Like that reminded me of my own name. My name is Sia Pranavya. Like you know that, and then my Pranavya meaning Om, and the real pronunciation of Om is Om, and that stands for the 3 Dev.
Yes, you're right. Anybody else has any questions? Sharanya, Bella, Arav, Ariana, Vihan, Ira, Tisha, Shlok, Ara, Smriti, Arush. Did you like the story? Did you enjoy the story? Did you know about these stories?
No, I had no idea of them.
No idea. Now you know.
No.
Now you know.
Not even my mom told me.
That's absolutely okay. That's why you came to me.
My name means a noble soul and a princess.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You
I
are
love
one,
that.
Ariana. Avishanti did a beautiful job explaining it, right? We are over time, but feel free to ask questions. She can answer them for you offline if you have any questions, right, Avisha?
Yes.
You're a natural as always. I learned so much from this, really.
I enjoyed talking to you kids. If you have any question, your parents have me on WhatsApp. Feel free to leave a question over there and I will answer. Okay? I loved interacting with you. Any other questions? And then we can wrap it up. Induja, I think we're done. As long as kids are done, then I think we're good to go for today's.
I think I'm going to stop the recording at this point. Everybody good?
Good? Awesome.